Hello everybody and welcome to another World of Warcraft live developer Q&A. Our camera has frozen. Give me 1 second. Alright. Round 2. Welcome to another World of Warcraft live developer Q&A. This is not a chair stream, fortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
We're actually here. My name is Josh Allen, aka Community Manager Lore, joined here once again by Game Director Ian Hazacostas. Ian, thank you so much for coming on again.
Pleasure as always, Josh.
Yep. So, we have a lot of questions to get to. We might as well just go ahead and
fresh
jump
on the
right
heels of Tides of Vengeance. Just a couple days in. It's been fun seeing everybody running around, catching up on the war campaign, murdering each other in war mode, doing assaults.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's very happy about absolutely everything. So we're going to jump right into how happy everyone is about absolutely everything. All right. This is the one where I actually get fired. First question for today.
First question.
Comes
How are
from,
you so amazing? No,
yeah, exactly. How are you so amazing? No. Saying, you promised us better communication. Why were so many changes undocumented in 8.1?
I think this better doesn't necessarily mean perfect. We think that these patch notes overall were thorough. They weren't complete. There were things that weren't in them. I would say there are 3 categories of things that didn't make the patch notes. One set are... So the professional requirements on crafted gear, for example, that wasn't really a fully intended change in the form it took. We have several different processes for making changes to the game. Sometimes we sit around, we say, hey, we need to change the system, we need to create something new, we're going to create a new feature, we're going to create new content. Category number 2, really minor changes. Like I mentioned, we fix literally thousands of bugs every patch. It isn't practical, and in fact, I think it would just clutter the overall patch notes if, all right, we corrected an issue where this belt clips into this other asset, or, The third category, I think, are things that we just missed, and that's where we're continuing to improve our communication process. Some of the changes, like stealth detection in the mobs at the start of Underrot, that was a reflection of, those were changes that were made way back in September when people first started running the dungeons, and we just failed to properly capture those changes in our internal tracking. They were kind of off our radar by the time we got to November and assembling the patch notes. We're going to do better about that in the future.
Cool. Better ways to improve on.
And again, I realize it's not an excuse because we owe it to you to do better. Yeah. But as an explanation, I think one of the challenges for the World of Warcraft team has been evolving some of our processes as the team grows in size, as the game grows in scope.
Yep. Moving on, we actually have another question along this general topic here. Is could you possibly add rationale for changes to patch notes and or hotfixes? Yeah. Let's see. Next question here from 4PodDRV on Twitter, who said, the recent patch 8.1 broke the popular add-on Cross RP. All right. Moving on. Next question comes from Metalish, who asked, wondering why the change to deleting Mythic Plus keys. Seemed like a great quality of life change made in BFA, only to be removed quickly after implementation. Who said, why were the dungeon changes not in the patch notes? And why were ones made to increase challenge and change strategy without addressing pain points of other dungeons?
Yeah, the small handful that didn't make it into the patch notes were just initial changes made, not hotfixed, back in September. Since then, we've actually hotfixed a ton of changes, mostly nerfs, to a wide variety of boss mechanics and things in dungeons. We actually, in fact, have, hopefully coming out at the beginning of next week, a large other set of changes, mostly focusing on a range of trash abilities and trash packs. I think this week that we have going on right now, where it's teaming fortified, is probably the most punishing of the 12 affix combinations.
Right.
And that's for a couple of reasons, I think.
Right. Let's go ahead and just move straight on to the next question. This one comes from Hateful, who asked, are there any steps being taken to improve the Mythic Plus Pug experience? Why do we have to wait until the opening of the Battle for Dazara lore for the new Mythic Plus season to open? And in the same boat, why do we have to wait an extra month for the new Azerite traits to be available? All that.
So Battle of Dazara lore, it's a couple of pieces here. One, we think that cutting Uldir short at this point would be a bit too soon. I think Uldir just opened 3 months ago. It's a healthy 8 boss tier. Many guilds are still progressing through it, pushing for ahead of the curve, pushing for cutting edge. As we look at pacing out our raid content over the entire expansion, looking to minimize droughts, 3 months for the first raid tier would be too short, we feel. Nighthold didn't open until, I think 4.5 months or so into Legion, for example. So that's why that's there. Now,
a lot of extra stress. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Moving on, next question comes from Sammy832, who says, it'd be nice to have a source of Titan residuum that isn't finite. I know you don't want us farming it, but can't you make the end of dungeons at least have a chance to drop some, or shards of it? It'd be nice on 0 Azerite drop raid weeks. All right, cool. I'm just going to drop a sound good makes sense. We'll go ahead and move right on. You plan on handling the transition from Season 1 to Season 2 regarding Titan residuum?
We don't want to go down a road of having 4 different Titan residuum currencies by the end of the expansion. We also dislike caps. It's kind of it's sort of this awkward experience where you feel like, okay, season end is coming up, we should hoard. So what we're going to do is actually just continue to inflate as we have. There's no reset. Every tier of gear costs roughly 3 times as much as the previous one.
Cool. So TLDR, buy pieces now if you want them. If not, that Titan residuum will still be useful.
Yep. Yeah, no cap, no reset. It's just costs go up, but the rewards will also go up.
Nice. Next question from Wonderful Heaven, who asked, the purpose of artifact knowledge is to reduce the gap between players who play a lot and those who do not. With AK on hold for 6 weeks, there will be a massive gap going into next tier that won't be easily closed for several weeks. What are your plans to prevent this in lieu of artifact knowledge? So,
on the undocumented patch changes front, by the way, I know there's going to be skepticism here. Just to be clear, this actually wasn't a Tides of Vengeance change. This was something that when Battle for Azeroth launched, we had, okay, we're going to have 15 weeks of knowledge that increment, and unfortunately the last week of knowledge just happened to fall on December 11th. Now, of course, we should have made this clear up front, but going into the next season, just to say it now, I forget off the top of my head exactly when the end date is, but we will announce that. Knowledge will begin accruing on January 22nd. I'd expect it to tick up for maybe 3 months or so, and then it will again pause until Season 3 begins.
All right, next question comes from Nightstalker314, who said, any plans on making the Heart of Azeroth more relevant or engaging?
Okay, so lot of aspects to unpack here. Bunch of points. So yes, we have a lot of plans to make the Heart of Azeroth more engaging, and we agree that I think on several levels this fell short of what Legion artifacts offered. Baseline, some of it is on the story side. The MAGNI and Corruption of Azeroth storyline was more of a B plot, at least initially. So where that leaves us is, as we look ahead to Rise of Ashar and beyond, we want to pretty significantly pivot how we're approaching the system. I think Battle of Dazar'alor in Season 2 is likely the last tier of Azerite armor that you'll really have to work to unlock the powers on. Thinking is, from Rise of Ashar and beyond, you'll just get new pieces. They'll be fully unlocked based on your heart level, and you can just make the choices you want to make on them. You can dial them in, customize them, and it's just armor that presents choice. And at that point, we'll shift the meaning of artifact power and the evolution of the Heart of Azeroth into something that lies in the heart itself, into ways of customizing and selecting powers that you're not re-earning, that you're just permanently unlocking and augmenting and choosing among within the heart. We'll have a lot more details of this system as Rise of Ashar gets closer. It's something we also want to use to add some more flashy visuals, even potentially some active abilities.
That's definitely something interesting to look forward to. I'm excited to learn more about that. So we'll have to we will make sure to share more about that as soon as we possibly can.
It might even find its way into the patch notes.
All right.
Sorry.
Next question from Silent Crits, who says, do you plan on increasing gear reward item levels of Warfronts and World Quests as time goes on?
Yeah.
Okay. Question here from Noble N6, somewhat related, asking, can we get Warfront rotations to speed up a bit? Asked, as a Horde player on a Horde-dominant server, I will never see the 30% War Mode bonus. This is a problem. I guess it's also not really a question. It's more of a statement.
I would be surprised if we ever saw a 30% Horde bonus, but it's possible. If more Alliance than Horde are queuing or participating in War Mode in a given week, Horde will have a larger bonus to participate than Alliance will.
Easy peasy, straightforward. Next question from Coils, asking kind of a broad question here. The question is, are you satisfied with the state of class design as a whole? It comes from Forsey, who asked, can we expect any form of legendaries throughout BFA, for example, Mists of Pandaria cloaks, Warlords of Draenor rings, the way that those work?
I think nothing specific planned right now, but it's always possible where it makes sense. I think we had that bonus legendary from Argus in Antorus that was, just a rare little surprise that some people could come across. I think where it fits the story, where it fits the content we're doing, it's something we're always open to, but nothing specific planned right now.
All right. And I believe we've got time for one more question. We'll grab this one here from Mamea, who said, what's the status on uncoupling artifact pairs for transmog? I really want to mog shield and sword separately on my prop pally.
Okay guys, what a great Q&A. So how about like, subscribing, and sharing for how good it was?
Do it or your mom dies in her sleep, and T-Series beats PewDiePie in sub count.